Okay, so now we're starting chapter 19 in Rabbi Tatz's book, and there's only 19 and 20 left. So you're almost all experts in the world of BECHIRA, free will, of how to use it in the right way. So the title of this chapter is called From Will to Action, the Problem of Loyalty. And we're going to discuss over here is how could it be that a person knows what the right thing is to do, and in that moment of challenge, they know what they should choose, and then they don't follow through with what the right choice is. How could that be? We'll see as we go along over here what's going on. Clarity of thought is one requirement. The one your thought has to be clear. You have to know what you should be doing. Breaking fantasy and illusion, banishing doubt for certainty. So the clarity of thought means I'm no longer looking at fantasy. I'm no longer being drawn after the illusion. Whatever doubts I have, I'm banishing, and now I'm certain I know what the right thing is to do. But even when that happens, if you reach a state of real clarity, which is a high level, there is more work for the will, and that is to bring the clarity down into action. You could have everything clear up here, but it might not reach to your heart. You might know what it is that you want to do to make sure that you're doing the right thing, but when push comes to shove and it requires the next step, which is acting upon it, you might not always have the wherewithal to do that. Now, why, if I know what is right and I know what is wrong, why would I continue to do the wrong thing? So when the higher self is correctly motivated and its direction is clear, the higher self will call like our soul, the spirit of a person. When it's motivated and clear, the lower self may not agree. The lower self is going to be our body and our base drives. The mind may be clear, but the body has its own agenda. You know what you want to do. You know what is right. You know what is wrong. You know what you should be involved with. But your body is telling you the opposite. The project of acting out the desire of the higher will can easily be derailed when the organs of action step in. So you know your mind is made up, you're very well aware, your neshama is telling you this is the right thing, but the organs of action, which are your limbs and is everything about you in the physical world, they often will end up getting in the way. What? That will be another dimension. Human nature makes it possible to know as clearly as a person can know. You could know clearly, and then to betray that clarity by acting with total disregard for what is known to be true. So, and he says this is the nature of a human being. Because that we are a combination of body and soul soul has very high aspirations. Body has very low aspirations. The mind can probe the biggest, most philosophical, wondrous world of ideas of intellect and wisdom and philosophy, and the body can say, I'm stuck down here in this world, and I just want to go take care of my bodily needs right now. So this, he writes, is the quandary that we're all going to find ourselves in. You know what you want, you know what's right, but we don't always act on what's right. We know what's wrong, and we tell ourselves, don't do that, and we do it anyway. So why would I do something wrong? Now again, it's walking into the street in the middle of cars running back and forth, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. I know that if I walk into the street, I'm going to get run over, and that's the end of my life. Game over, Frogger, I'm finished. So I'm not going to walk into the street right now. So that's obvious, and the consequence that's going to take place is so irreversible, I would never do it. But when I am walking into the battlefield of spiritual challenges, and I'm going to hurt myself as a result of it, since I don't see the irreversible change, and I don't see that the car is running me over, and I don't see that it's game over, so then my mind can play tricks on me, and I can say, well, it's probably not so bad. Not such a bad thing if I do this. Seeing the road to the goal does not guarantee appropriate action. The Greeks named this problem akrasia. Anybody know Greek? Akrasia. What is the problem? The problem of the gap between the head and the heart, between will and action. And this is the struggle of mankind for thousands of years. Akrasia, Akrasia. This is the struggle of mankind for all of eternity. My mind knows one thing, but I can't get it into my heart. And as long as I can't get it into my heart, I'm not going to be able to act upon it. My will, I have a real will to do such and such a thing, but it's just not translating into action. I don't know why. A separate application of will is necessary to bring the source of intention into action. So now I need a new choice that I'm going to make, and this is a matter of choice, the choice to be loyal. I'll be loyal. I choose to be loyal to what I understand up here. I choose to be loyal to the will that I have to do the right thing. There's forces that are pushing me in the opposite direction, but I'm going to choose right now not to be overwhelmed by those external powers or pressures. I'm going to stay strong where I am. Always reminded of the 1,000-pound man who somehow could not understand that being 1,000 pounds is not a healthy thing for a person. And he was lying in his bed, and he got very sick, and the hospital, the 911 was called, and they tried to remove him from the house. They couldn't get him out the door. What are they supposed to do? So they call in a helicopter, if I remember correctly, and they had to break a hole in the roof, and then they had to put him into a crane, and they had to lift him out of his house and bring him to the hospital. And the doctor in the hospital was pretty straight with him and said, "Sir, you're not supposed to weigh 1,000 pounds. You've got to lose weight." Meaning all this time, you knew what you're doing is wrong. You knew that you're becoming bigger and fatter and more impossible to move around, a bigger blob that's just lying in your bed. It's unhealthy. You knew that. But even though if you know that over here, it's not translated because you've got this desire to eat. But now you got to lose weight. And you have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you are going to explode. You're going to die. So at that moment when it's game over or else, so then that's when the man began losing weight. I think he lost something like 750 pounds, if I remember correctly. Probably Google it and find him. He was probably an Oprah Winfrey or something like that. And you'll find out that this man he went down to 200 and something pounds, and he saved his life because he finally understood that I can't just keep letting things go on the way that it is. I must take control of my will so that it follows through with an action. And that's what he's saying over here. This becomes the challenge of a person in his life. I know what's right, I know what's wrong, yet I can't follow through with that all the time because from heart to head, it doesn't work. From will to action, it doesn't go through. And therefore, he says, be loyal. And if you're a person of loyalty to Hashem, you're a person of loyalty to really what the desires of your soul are, then you'll make the right choices. And then he says like this, defection from the path of truth does not happen in the initial moment of clarity. When you have clarity, you see things clear. In the moment of insight, the light is too strong. You're not going to say, well, I'm not going to do that now. You know what is right. There's the inspiration. It's, you watch the Rocky movie, and you're excited as can be. You're going to wake up the next morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and jog up the stairs over there in Philadelphia, crack your egg, and you're going to jump up and down for joy because I gotta get in shape. That night while you're watching the movie, that's it. Tomorrow is the day that I'm going to out there exercising. Well, what happens the next morning? The light of that excitement, of that insight has faded already. As soon as the thrill of inspired awareness fades, it's replaced by temptation to ignore it completely as if it never happened. And then you wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock, and you say, that was for Rocky Balboa. That's not for me. Maybe I'll get up at 6 o'clock. That must be for Stallone, but that's not for me. Then you get up at 7 o'clock, and next thing you know, you're sitting in the kitchen, you're eating your sugary cereal, you're watching your TV program, and you're going off to work or to school, and you'll never jog down the streets of Philadelphia in your life. So what happened? Last night you were so sure, I'm going to exercise today. Because once that excitement wears off, then nature begins to sink in again, and then you are no longer convinced of the clarity that you had before is the right way to go. So that's obviously that's in the physical workout example, but all the more so when it comes to our spiritual commitments, that even when we see so clearly what we should do, very, very often, if time elapses and we let it fester too long, you're not going to be able to follow through with what you want. Now he says a very interesting idea, and we'll end with this idea because the next part is a bigger explanation of it. He says truth and faith, truth, emes, and faith, amuna, is male and female components, as he'll explain. Truth and faith, in the sense of faithfulness, are the components of this axis, meaning whether or not you're going to be able to do the right thing is going to depend upon your truthfulness and your faithfulness. Clear perception of truth begins the process. First, I have clear understand what's the emes, what's the truth. Faithfulness to that vision must bring it to expression. I know what's right, and now I'm gonna be faithful to it, and I'm going to follow through with what it is that I'm committing myself to do. Now he says this partnership is the classic male-female duality in the world. And he brings from the Zohar. The Zohar is the most Kabbalistic work that we have, who says that he is truth and she is faith. What does that mean? Man is truth and a woman is faith. Man is emes and the woman is amuna. What does that mean? And he says very beautiful. The effort to clarify objectivity is male in nature. This is why husbands and wives often don't understand each other. The wife is going through some kind of dilemma, and she begins telling over her dilemma to her husband, and the husband's incisive mind is right away getting, past all the things that are there, and he comes up with a solution. She's not interested in your solution. She just wants to be able to vent her feelings. She wasn't asking you for a solution. Her mind doesn't work in that way. She's sitting there in an emotional place. She wants to be able to vent and feel whatever pain or whatever or discomfort she's going through right now. But your clarity to see the objectivity, to see the truth, goes very quickly. So he says like this: the effort to clarify objectivity is a male in nature. The effort of character, which is the work of loyalty to the knowledge, that's female. So you could figure out what's right quickly sometimes, but in order to bring that into fruition, for that that's the female aspect. He's going to explain. And he says like this: the root will is male, meaning that root ruts in that will that you have to do something, that's considered to be the male counterpart. And bringing it into the actual is female, as he's going to explain. And he says, think about it like this. Conception of a baby begins with the male, right? The male is the one that is beginning, the beginning conception. He bringing what has been conceived to full expression is the work of the female. The man just deposits his seed, but the woman is the one that brings it inside of her. It unites together with the egg, and then she's the one who houses the embryo for the next 9 months of its creation, of its life. So the man does one act, and it's over in a minute, and the woman then lives with that for the next 9 months of her life. And he says, the male begins the process, but the woman brings it to the final fruition. Male work is only in the spark of conception. The female continues the process and must be loyal to it all the way through to the birth. Pregnancy is a long and arduous voyage. Male work is clear and inspired. Female work extends long after the inspiration of beginnings has faded. So the initial union of the husband and the wife, it's exciting, it's wonderful, it's full of pleasure. And the man's done, and he gets up and he walks away. And now the woman has inside of her brewing a whole life is starting to form. And that's going to be with aches and with pains and sleepless nights and swollen feet and heartburn and uncomfortable. And then on top of all that is going to be labor, which is excruciating. So who's the one that is bringing things into fruition in this world? Says the way he's explaining the Zohar is the man and female relation. The man, he gives, the woman takes, and she's the loyal one. She's the faithful one because she stays with this creation and she takes care of it for those 9 months. And even afterwards, she doesn't take the baby and then drop it off at the zoo. She takes the baby and she holds on to that baby. She nurses that baby. She changes the diaper. She's with it all the time. So, and this is how he's going to explain. In our own minds, what we're going to have to be able to convert for ourselves is that there's the will, the source of our will, which is that male counterpart. But then there's getting in touch with the female side of the person, which is faithful and nurturing and following through with it and bringing it into fruition. So that will be the challenge that we're going to address over here, of even when you have clarity and you know what it is which is right, it doesn't always work out. Why doesn't it always work out? Because when the excitement goes away, when the thrill is gone, so then everything just goes down, and then you no longer see the benefit, or you no longer have the enthusiasm and excitement, inspiration to follow through. Our goal in faithfulness is to keep those flames of inspiration alive, and even when it's not so exciting, we're still going to be faithful and loyal to what's the ultimate desire, which is, of course, elevating our soul and the like, and we're going to keep it going in that direction. Yeah. Yes. Pregnant. Yes.
So the teacher impregnates the student's mind. What's going to happen with that impregnation remains to be seen.
Beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so a happy Hanukkah to everyone.